So first of all, let me tell you a bit about what we are trying to achieve with Part 4. So Part 4 will be a requirement standard. As you might know, Part 1 is a guidance standard and Part 2 is also a guidance standard. So far all these other parts are guidance standards. So you cannot, in terms of the ISO requirements or regulations, you can't certify an organization against a guidance standard. You need a requirement standard. So the Federation and the Certification Committee in particular did a survey to consult organizations whether they're interested in plain language certification. We needed to find that out first of all. And there was quite a major interest in certification from organizations, not plain language consultancies, but other types of organizations like financial organizations, government departments, etc. So that gave us the green light to start working on a requirement standard. The requirement standard comprises two types of requirements. There's first of all a requirement that deals with the process to develop plain language content. What process must an organization follow to make sure that it delivers content that the users experience as I've explained to you? Then there are a second set of requirements that deal with aspects that the organization must have in place and processes that they must follow to drive and sustain the implementation of plain language in the organization. And those are aspects like leadership commitment, strategy, implementation plan, creating a culture of plain language, and having the necessary resources in place. So that's the framework of the requirement. The standard goes through the normal ISO processes. Just to give you an update on where we are at the moment, here in Takamatsu we will be discussing the final responses to the comments that we got on the working draft, and so getting the standard ready for the next stage for the committee draft comments. And that will run until September, I think is our deadline there, and then we hope to have by the end of the year a draft international standard. Then the question that was asked is, how are we going to make sure that this very important standard is actually used, and that organizations come forward and say yes, they want to use the standard, and also hopefully in future apply to be certified against that standard. We will rely very much, I think, on the activities and the initiatives of the national standards bodies. That will be very important. And that roadshow that I mentioned, that the South African National Standards Body is running, I think could set like an example or be a model for other national standards bodies as well. Because you need first of all to raise awareness. People will not start using a standard if they have no knowledge of it, if they're not aware of it. And that is, in the end, the responsibility of each national standards body. Interest from organizations themselves in becoming certified and following the standard, I think that will differ from country to country. You will probably have the strongest drive in countries where plain language is a legal requirement. but also in countries where there's a strong awareness and a drive towards inclusivity in government communication and making government communication accessible to all citizens. I think that will also favor the use of the standard, because the standard is we try to write the standard so that it can be applicable to all types of organizations and also all sizes of organizations. And then, as I've mentioned, in the private sector, as you know, in the digital age where we live, in which we live, there's this proliferation of communication, digital communication. And unless you can successfully engage your intended audience, well, they will just pass you by. They will just ignore you. So my vision for the future is plain language as a science of engaging intended audiences successfully. And we're very privileged that we live in an age also where, on the one hand, digital communication is a challenge, but on the other hand, we have tools like your analytics that in real time can analyze the use of web pages and analyze the use of apps to see if your websites and your apps are really engaging your audiences effectively, and where is it missing the target, so that you can then go back and make the necessary revisions and improvements. And then there's of course AI as a tool to help you to improve the communication, to have that better engagement and to reach your targets for engagement. So it's an exciting time, I think, to be working in the plain language field. There's a lot of scope. We need to take hands with other disciplines like information design, like UX research or UX writing, like content strategies, content development. We all need to work together towards building this science that I think is the future.